What is this? I think it's nice that they didn't just call me crazy and dismiss me outright. I don't think we'll disagree on much, if anything, on Palestine, despite what you've seen on Twitter. 3, I agree we should be able to talk. It seems like we have a lot to discuss. I'm definitely interested in demystifying whatever concept you have of me being a right-wing Palestinian hater. My gripe with the activists is their nonstop propaganda campaign to ruin anyone that doesn't pass their purity test, despite agreeing on 95% of things. Brother, this is the most like self-unaware take of all time. If we agree on 95% of things, then why have you spent the last month trying to get me and other prominent anti-Palestinian people deplatformed, including but not limited to literally calling Twitch a anti-Semitic neo platform that deserves its own adpocalypse, calling pro-Palestinian content creators who you know are not anti-Semitic terrorists who love doing terrorism propaganda is not exactly, I mean, it's not anyone else's fault at this point for making this assertion. Of course, people are going to be like, okay, well, most of your output revolves around going after prominent pro-Palestinian content creators. So yeah, of course, people are going to make that assessment. Inevitably, they're going to be like, okay, well, it kind of seems you misspoke and said anti-Palestinian. Oh, my bad. The reality of the matter is, if you don't want people to think of you as like someone who is anti-Palestinian, then, you know, focus your efforts on more productive battles.
More specifically,
I think that's a great point. But like, should we go on it?
And more specifically,
it's kind of funny also because like the tryguys were like, we work with the tryguys doing the Palestinian charity, and I have not talked to them since, but I assume that they arrived at these conclusions by literally looking at Ethan's output. And if your output is basically saying that, like, one, guys like myself are gatekeeping genocide, okay, and two, the past month is literally just, you know, an endless battle of trying to deplatform someone who is very clearly pro-Palestine and also not anti-Semitic, then yeah, of course people are going to arrive at these conclusions. Like, I haven't talked to these guys. I haven't like poisoned the well or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's so crazy and so goddamn self-centered to just like center this genocide around your own personal feelings, man. You can try to moralize it by saying, no, I'm actually engaging in a conquest of anti-Semitism rising. And there is truth to anti-Semitism rising, of course. But like, your output doesn't reflect that reality when most of your markers and most of your targets are not anti-Semitic and you're literally claiming that they are. That's the problem. And people, and I don't know why. I don't know why he just like doesn't understand that, you know, your output is the reason why people think you're crashing out and going crazy. Exactly. Do people normally endlessly harass people that 95% agree with? Do they team up with Nazi defenders and actual anti-Semites because they're upset? Yeah, exactly.
with Ethan, he is someone who, we're both Jewish guys. We have different views about Israel and Palestine. He has said some really wildly hateful things about Palestinian supporters. And so I have a disagreement with him in views. And I think that's a conversation we could have, even though he comes at it from a place of wild diatribes. But then, yeah, there's that question to audiences. Is it by even going on their platform or by platforming them, are you validating?
Yeah.
And now you're shutting yourself away from those spaces. But if you shut yourself away from those spaces, then you're not able to talk to other people. I don't know the answer.
I don't know.
Here.
I think this is a very interesting conversation.
But this is exactly like Kamala doesn't go on Joe Rogan.
No, it
And
is.
by the way, it's exactly like that.
It's at least as close as we can get.
But it is, I think.
It's interesting how you say the same thing, but you say it as a brown person, so you're a terrorist. No, like there are definitely differences in opinion between me and maybe even other people who are, you know, pro-Palestine. Everyone has a different method. For me, the only people that I have no charitability for are people who have demonstrated truly, openly anti-Semitic tendencies. Okay, if you are the type of person that starts talking about the Talmud, or how, or if you are the type of person that literally pairs Israel with Judaism and Jews, okay, and then says like, yeah, Israel's doing a genocide because, you know, that's just how Jews are, then yeah, I'm done. I'm done with you, okay? That's it. And it's ironic that I'm consistent on this, okay? Whether you are doing this in defense of Israel or whether you are doing this because you are an anti-Semite who wants to pair themselves up with anti-Zionist sentiments, I don't want anything to do with you. And that's the difference, okay? That's why I've routinely shit on Jake Shields and Dan Bilzerian and the like. Like, I've done that. And it's incredibly frustrating to constantly have this back and forth, to constantly have this conversation over and over and over again. He literally said I was, going after low-hanging fruit because I shit on Myron from Fresh and Fit. That, like, the real anti-Semitism that I have to actually reckon with is my own personal community or something. And that's because members of my community that happen to be crossover fans of his, former fans of his, don't like the way that he has communicated throughout this goddamn genocide. That's it. And I tried to communicate this to him early on. I was like, look, dude, if you sound like Joe Biden, or if you sound like Ben Shapiro, okay, then yeah, people are gonna think that you are like Joe Biden, Ben Shapiro, or Steven Crowder. If your output in defense of why I don't know, Israelis don't see eye to eye on this issue is because you were like, no, you don't understand. 90% of Jews are Zionists. 90% of Jews are Zionists, and that also simultaneously there will never be peace in the region, and there cannot be a one-state solution, and that Jewish Voice for Peace are capos, and then you make fun of Aaron Bushnell and all of this stuff. Like, yeah, of course, people that don't pay attention to anything else are going to see that and not give a fuck about what you have said formerly about Israel and Palestine. That's it. At a certain point, it comes across like, you don't really care about the actual significant conversations that need to be taking place, the actual significance of this genocide. Yeah, I mean, it is also incredibly narcissistic. That is the other part of this conversation. It's incredibly narcissistic that he thinks that the only reason why I'm calling out blatant Nazi rhetoric was to appease him, as though it's something that I secretly agree with. Like, what's the implication? There's never been a moment where I've given charity to Fresh and Fit. And that's before I even found out about their, like, Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism. There was a shit ton of things that we don't agree on, we don't see eye to eye on. Anti-Semitism being yet another very glaringly obvious reason as to why we don't see the world in a similar fashion. That's what's so annoying about it. It's like, here, I'll give you a good example of this, okay? Myron is constantly in my replies being like, see, this is how the Jews are. They'll never accept you. That's why they'll never accept you. Because he also thinks I'm anti-Semitic secretly. He's an idiot, okay? And I don't know how to communicate this to people. It's like, no, dude, we're not allies, okay? We're not. I don't agree with you. I don't think that Israel's actions have anything to do with Judaism at all, okay? It just doesn't. And people don't understand that. They like anti-Semitic people who present themselves as anti-Israel genuinely think that other people are also anti-Semitic just like they are, okay? And that they're secretly hiding their anti-Semitic tendencies because they're afraid of the media coming after them. He's constantly in my replies on Twitter being like, see, they're never going to stop coming after you. You should align with me. It's like, no, dumbass. I don't align with you because I don't agree with you. Like, in the simplest terms, I do not agree with you, okay? I don't think it is truthful, okay? I don't think it's truthful, but I'm glad that he has some level of charitability for the tryguys. Maybe they can actually get it across to Ethan that, like, consistently making your output around Israel's genocide of Palestinians your own personal feelings because, like, 3 upvoted Reddit posts are hurting your feelings, and then pairing that up with, like, real anti-Semitism rising as though you're on a moral crusade by putting the crosshairs on people who are not anti-Semitic that you are falsely smearing as anti-Semitic is obviously going to make people think that you're doing this to deliberately defend Israel and change the dynamic in the conversation. I understand that a big part of that is just pure narcissism, okay? I do. Narcissism, not knowing anything about the history of Israel, and just, like, probably mainlining pro-Israeli propaganda on a regular basis will change your attitude quite a bit. Yeah, I don't want to align with actual anti-Semites, but he has no issue aligning with Islamophobes like D-Man or all the right-wing drama YouTubers who also have literally said a shit ton of anti-Semitic things too.